Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today let's try to solve day 4 of the April month. Lowest common ancestor of a deepest leaves. Okay, so here the idea is to identify the lowest common ancestor of deepest leaves. Okay, so they have just defined the problem statement. So the root will be at a depth of 0 and the subsequent level will be at a level which is 0 plus 1. These are at level 1, these are at level 2 and these are at level 3. The idea is to identify the leaves which are at the deepest level. We have to identify the lowest ancestor of these deepest leaf nodes. Okay, so all I have to do, see, at any point of time I should keep track of what is the depth. Okay, depth of and what is the ancestor. Okay, let's say we have found a common ancestor, lowest common ancestor, and we should also identify what is the depth of the its leaf nodes. Okay, let's say 2 is the ancestor which we have found, and we should also know what is the depth of this depth of the leaves. Okay, what is the depth of the leaves. Okay, so okay, now that we have identified, so from the left subtree I know what is the depth of the depth of the deepest leaf, and I know the ancestor. Okay, so and also from the right tree similarly I can identify what is the depth of the deepest leaves. Okay, so if both the depths are equal, if the left subtree has some certain depth and the right subtree has a certain depth, and if both are equal, then the immediate root would be the lowest common ancestor. So which is in this case, let's say left subtree has a depth which is higher than the right subtree. Okay, in the left subtree I have identified a lowest common ancestor which has a leaves at a higher depth. Here I found a lowest common ancestor which is 2, which has leaves at a depth of 3, whereas here I found a lowest common ancestor which is 1, which has leaves at a depth of 2. Okay, so in the left subtree I have found the leaves which are at depth 3, and in the right subtree I have found leaves which are at depth 2. But my question is to identify the lowest common ancestor for the deepest leaves. Okay, since left subtree has the leaves which are deeper, so the ancestor which is coming from the left subtree would be the answer for my solution. Okay, let's say if the right subtree has the deepest leaves, right, in that case the answer would come from the right subtree. Okay, if both the subtrees, left subtree and the right subtree, has the same leaf nodes at the same depth, okay, in that case my current root would be the lowest common ancestor. Okay, so as I mentioned, let's try to code it out. Okay, so we need a utility function which will basically tell me what is the lowest common ancestor and what is the depth of its leaf nodes. Okay, what is the maximum depth of its leaf node. Okay, so let's say lowest common ancestor, it's gonna take two things. Okay, so first I will be starting at a root node and I will recursively call on my left subtree and my right subtree. Okay, so let's say if I call on my left subtree, so root dot left, and the depth of the left subtree would be depth plus 1, right? So if I am at a root, so its child would be at a depth of depth plus 1. That is what I mentioned. In a similar way, I will also identify what is the lowest common ancestor for the right subtree. Now that I have identified the lowest common ancestor for my left subtree and my right subtree, if both the subtrees has the left subtree has a higher depth, in this particular example left subtree has a higher depth leaf nodes. Okay, right, in that case my lowest common ancestor would come from my left subtree, right? Else if right lowest common ancestor, the depth of the right subtree Okay, depth. Now that I have identified the lowest common ancestor in my right tree, and if the depth of the leaf nodes, if it is higher than the right subtrees, okay, then I have to return that my, so in that case my lowest common ancestor would come from the right tree. If any of these cases are not satisfying, that means the left uh, left side, left subtree uh, has leaf nodes at a certain depth, and right also has leaf nodes at the same depth. Okay, both the nodes, both the trees has same depth. If both the trees has the deepest nodes at the same depth, okay, then my current node would be the answer. Okay, in that case I have to return new pair of root and the current depth. Okay, the depth which is coming. Okay, okay, yeah. So let's also try to fulfill the base case. Okay, so if root itself is null, okay, that means I don't have any child. Okay, in that case I have to return a null, and I have to return a depth of depth plus 1. Okay, so in the end I will call my root with a depth of 0, and I have to get the key. Okay, let's try to run the solution. Some typo. Okay, I've just kept an extra parenthesis. Yeah, basic test cases were passed. Let's also try to submit the solution. Yeah, all the test cases will also pass. So the idea is to use the recursion and keep track of the depths. Okay, keep track of the depth and the ancestor. Okay, the ancestor and the corresponding depth. Okay, yeah, that's all about the problem. Do subscribe to my channel for more such coding videos. Thank you.